I just wanted to offer up two positive suggestions. One is go to peacealliance.org. Dennis Kucinich is introducing a bill into Congress to create a Department of Peace. And I think it could be very constructive, and I think it could put us in the right direction. He's also running for president. He would be an honest, great candidate. And the other thing is, I attended a workshop with the Peace Alliance, and the leader of the workshop explained to us that most of the new Congress people coming in and the new senators, they may be very idealistic right now, and they may have a lot of great ideas in their head right now, but in about 3 months, they're going to start becoming as jaded as the rest of them that are there already. So we have about a 3-month window to flood these people with emails, letters, faxes. That's it.
Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you got to come over here.
Hi, I'd like to bring the debate back to the original question of what the media can do, how we can force the media to do a better job of reporting what's going on. And to do that, I want to tie together something that I heard in a previous workshop. A guy named Petri Dish from Prometheus Project was telling us how they set up a radio station without knowing how, and they did it because they put themselves the challenge. Now, what about thinking this? The next time we have a mass demonstration, we coordinate it with a bunch of people from Prometheus who know what they're doing to take over television stations momentarily to broadcast. Hold on a minute. And I have just a minute. I haven't finished tying it together. I want to talk about the gentleman who met Ben Bella, particularly because I spent most of my life in various foreign countries, and in particular France, and I'm familiar with Ben Bella. He was a soldier, if I'm not mistaken. When he said, he looked you in the eye and he said, you have to do more, I don't think he meant demonstrating. I think he meant getting a gun. Okay, so we're not ready to get a gun. And we have a very widespread country where it isn't really very convenient for us to take over with a gun, let's face it, just like it wouldn't be convenient in Russia. But I think we need to really start doing guerrilla-type activities. As long as we're here talking about it, nothing is going to change. We have to act. And this will make, not only it'll make a difference because people will see what they wouldn't ordinarily get to see, but it's escalating to a different level that will reach people in terms of what they believe we can accomplish. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over here. There's lots of people.
I just found a few references, and I wanted to know if anybody else knew where I could find out more information about the camps or the concentration camps that in Halliburton is building. Has anybody found out any more about that? They've got huge government contracts to build these camps, bowling pins for people all over the country.
So we're, okay.
And two, and the second one is that has anybody ever drawn the parallels between
Judith Miller, I wanted to talk about how the military industrial complex is penetrating the corporate media. Carlyle Group has William Kennard, who's on the New York Times board. Bechtel has Douglas Warner III, who's on NBC's board. Boeing has John Bryson, who's on ABC's board, and Halliburton has Allison Lewis on ABC's board. Lockheed Martin has Douglas McCorkindale on Gannett. Now this is all new, because we've been monitoring the interlocks between corporate media and corporations. So these military industrial complex companies are really getting interested, and they're very involved, and they put a lot of money up for PR and that kind of involvement. Now on the detention camps, that's one of our stories this year in the Project Censored book. Peter Dale Scott wrote about it. It was actually on the Halliburton website. We got a $350 million contract, and we get to build new detention camps in case there's an influx of immigrants across the border that we have to contain. No, this is what they said. And any other problems that might arise. Other special needs. Now, follow this. Operation Falcon. 60 government agencies, the FBI, the Secret Service, all you know, the IRS, everybody involved with 900 local police units and Special Terrorist Task Force all over the country, Homeland Security, 3 separate mass arrests now. Operation Falcon is federal agencies in cooperation with local groups or something like that. They just arrested 10,000 felons simultaneously in 3 days. Now this is mass arrest practice. You didn't see this in the paper? This was in the paper. 3 weeks ago, Operation Falcon. Read about it. Look it up. 10,000 people who had felony, they were felons, drug dealers and all these evil people. And, but you know, what's the need for mass arrest practice coordinated by Homeland Security for 10,000 people simultaneously? You've got somebody with a warrant for their arrest, you go arrest them. So, exactly. So, you know, we're following that story right now, and it's concerning us.
I guess.
Let's let Larry speak and Robin speak, and we're going to take more. Robin, go ahead.
I think we have to remember what the history of war tells us throughout the century is that democratic institutions heave under the weight of war. It requires secrecy. Those that have any kind of transparent government, all of that goes underground because it becomes very easy for national security purposes to let propaganda go out to the American public. I mean, that has happened before. Judith Miller was a particular odious case of the New York Times, but she was working with an outside front group that was going to take over, and that's part of the structure of war that's happened in past wars. The Patriot Act came about after 9/11 in an atmosphere of fear, and as long as we allow our government to keep us fearful, numb in the face of suffering and fearful in the face of dubious enemies and demonized enemies, then we move closer to a bunker national security state. These are one and the same things, and we need to keep that in mind, even though the majority of the American public is now against this. These kind of forces of war and secrecy are always there. They pull this stuff out, they try it again, they need a scare, and hopefully they won't succeed, and maybe someday we will be in camps, I don't know.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm not going to repeat all this. We're in a race against time to stop the Bush regime before it is able to enact all this repression, including against the alternative media. Second, you know, in terms of what are our tactics, I think our tactics always have to be things that draw in more and more and more people. There will not be social change without millions of people. And then just briefly, in terms of the Hitler parallel that she was bringing up, I would really encourage people to go on the web. I think it's on, it's on your website, of Daniel Ellsberg speaking in Washington, D.C. on January 4th. A program David and Sansara and a bunch of other people were at, and David will tell you the website, but go listen to Daniel Ellsberg walk through the history of Germany in the early 1930s and make some connections based in documented historical fact. So what you'll tell them the website. I don't know.
The website is afterdowningstreet.org. Also, theworldcan'twait.net. And you know, one of the early steps Hitler took was to give himself the right to read anyone's mail. Well, you may have noticed that President Bush just recently signed a bill with a signing statement giving himself the right to read anyone's mail. Russ, did you want to comment? If anyone lost these glasses, they will be up here.
Thank you. Judith Miller is one of my favorite topics. Back in June of 2003, I wrote a piece for The Nation magazine comparing Judith Miller's reporting with reporting from the Washington Post. And it was quite interesting because the same reporters who were at the exact same things that she was at in Iraq for another mainstream publication were coming to completely different conclusions. And compounding the situation was inflammatory headlines in the Times that made it even worse. One thing that I think media media activists can do is to speak out about bad reporting and to contact these publications. If there was enough of a head of steam early on, the Times management would have felt much more embarrassed and much more compelled to do something. If you remember, they had that kind of rearguard action where they very gradually, first they defended her, she went to jail supposedly for some sort of larger values, whatever that was, protect sources. Her sources, yeah, and of course, who were her sources? Yeah. So we need to be out there making it clear to the publications that we read and the shows we listen to that those kind of low standards of quality are simply unacceptable. They really do listen to that, and if they hear that from enough people, they start having meetings and they start seeing what they can do about it.
So you may go second. This gentleman's had a hand up for about an hour. The other thing we can do, with all due respect to a wonderful organization, World Can't Wait, and many other wonderful organizations, is stop buying ads in the New York Times. There are good publications. There are good radio shows desperate for money that are reporting the news. Without the New York Times, we would not have this war. Don't give them my money.
I just want to throw a guerrilla tactic out there that I was thinking about. If the news won't cover these massive demonstrations like January 27th, and they'll have local ones in each town, we should have people locally that are listening on police scanners, because every news system has their eyewitness news or whatever that covers the local news, and drive around with your posters in your trunk and follow them to the next beating or whatever.
I love it.
Everywhere they show up for an eyewitness news, you have your thing. They lay down a picture of they want to show anything. A
lot of good ideas out there.
You might even see your signs.
I'd like to share something with you as a long-term activist. A friend of mine said, when did you become involved in political activism? And I said, I was born that way. And I came from a family who generated that, supported that. Many of my friends have not become involved. And they're all the right-thinking people. They're all in the right category. But they're waiting for the government to do something. They say, okay, now the Democrats are there. What are they going to do? Nothing. Right. And I said, don't you ask me that question. You tell me what you are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a government by the people.
That's right.
And for the people. And if you wait for somebody else to take charge and to give you the solutions, you're part of the problem. How do we convey that to our friends? How about taking home all that we've learned here and learn more and make sure that on that march on January 27th, we each bring 50 people. Mm-hmm. How about that? We each bring 50 people. That's right. Good.
Great.
I just have a quick question. Tonight's
Can you
meeting
stand up and shout, please? It's a big room.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Just a quick question. Tonight's meeting has been changed, did you say, to another room besides what's on this?
Yeah, what's the room? Chickasaw/Mississippi room, which is one floor up, and it's a big room because we're going to have a lot of speakers and a lot of people there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I work for the 9/11 Truth Movement. I, in fact, this 9/11 press code truth uncovering the government cover up on 9/11. We were distributing the DVDs in the Senate and the Congress, and also, where Carl Schumer and Dick Durbin live in Washington. They have a townhouse, 127 D Street, 127 D Street, and go there and protest on January 27 in front of their house. 127 D Street, write that down. Yeah,
say it real slow.
Carl Schumer live in 127 D Street, the townhouse.
127 D Street.
Okay. So last question of the evening, and then we can talk informally, afternoon, whatever this is. Sir, with your hand up.
Just a framing thing. I think it dignifies this whole set of claims to call this a war. They've tried to legitimize themselves in the pale of World War II and other wars.
That's right.
this is not a war against opposing combatants in the field. It's a political interdiction against populations. And this is the way it's been conducted. Our soldiers are not fighting armed people. They're busting down doors of people's homes. And when we bring them home, they're going to become cops and do the same thing.
That is so right.
Trained to do. So the nature of a political interdiction is that, like a police action, they don't have to tell you who or why or on what factual grounds they are proceeding. They just take them down. And so I'm kind of putting out the words that don't even dignify it as a war.
I think it's high-tech slaughter, but I would just a friendly amendment to high-tech slaughter.
The military has run away from every fair fight since 1952, and I'm not proud. I think they're slovenly cowards.
Well, and we should say support the troops who refuse to commit crimes and who refuse to fight.
Right.
Support the troops is being translated into support the war, you know.
Of course, and understand that that's just another misnomer that's being danced into it, and we wind up playing into that theologically. It's wrong.
Okay, well, I think we all agree with that. Okay, this is really the last question. Yeah.
I just, this might be an unpopular view, but I did want to say that there are, the media is plural, it's not singular, it's not a monolith. I'm talking about the mainstream media, and there are men and women who are risking their lives and have lost their lives, and there are families in this country who are waiting for their journalists, husbands and wives and parents to come home, and we can break off and organize in our own little echo chambers online and only talk to other people who feel the same way we do. But if we embrace the mainstream media and write to our editors as much as our Congress people and try to support the bureaus that are there, and Hannah Alam, the Baghdad bureau chief for Knight Ridder, is a woman my age who's been there for years, visiting her mother every day, and they don't do amazing work every day, but they do good work sometimes. And we should stay in communication with them rather than leave them all together and go off in our own place, like I said, where we're only talking to people who already agree with us. Keep encouraging Time Magazine and Newsweek and the New York Times to do good stories that will bring other people in this country on board so that this group gets larger and larger and larger.
Absolutely. Everybody write letters to the editor, call talk shows, call producers, work the media. They would not cover the Downing Street memos until we pushed them to. But it wasn't just buying them lunch. It was protesting in their lobbies. So there are ways to work with the media.
Well, I just want to say that that's why we have an analysis of the media, not criticism of individual journalists, right? And so, well taken. But we need to, all of us in our different ways are a coalition at this organization, and there are those who critic and lobby the mainstream, and then there are those who produce their own, and we need to do all of it. So thanks for coming.
Amen. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Anybody's glasses?
I'm not